The 7 Deadly Mistakes That Inventors Make by SHIINE Enterprise.
Welcome to the 7 Deadly Mistakes That Inventors Make, your free video series from SHIINE Enterprise. My name is Jethro. I'm known as the captain of SHIINE Enterprise and the director of SHIINE and the creator of the 7 Deadly Mistakes. I'm an inventor like yourself, a product designer, and an elite patent specialist, and I'm here to guide you and mentor you through the process. So in this deadly mistake, we're going to look at 2 videos from 2 different invention development or promotion companies. On the one hand, we've got Davison, and we're going to see a video from their founder and chief, George Davison, otherwise known as Mr. D. You're going to see a video of him in action with a promotional video their company shows to inventors. We're also then going to look at another company called InventHelp, and you're going to see a video from someone that you will know very well, George Foreman, the former heavyweight champion boxer of the world, someone who worldwide is known in very good terms, being someone who puts out a lot of positive things in life. You're going to see a promotional video from them, and in both cases, we're going to see their videos live on YouTube, and you might be able to see these videos on their website as well. So these are all freely available publicly. What I'm then going to do after I show you each video is I'm going to take you through their figures on screen personally. And the reason I can do that is that these companies, especially in America, are subject to certain laws, and they have to disclose their figures to inventors who are going to enter into business agreements or pay them for certain things. So we're going to look at those on screen, and I'm going to show you what those mean. So we've got Mr. D, George Foreman, and the captain. There are some serious characters in this room, but only one can be the last man standing. Let's see who that's going to be. InventHelp, I'll deal with you later. Let's start with Davison, who also sometimes trade under the name Invention Land, and a promotional video from their founder, Mr. D.
Everyone has an idea. It's the American dream to invent a better product that everyone needs and to get it in front of a corporation that pays royalties when products sell in stores.
I'm Mr. D, and I'm an idea guy, and an owner of a company who gets new ideas every year from people just like you.
Mr. D is an inventor, an entrepreneur. Our company works with everyday people that have invention ideas. Our inventors submit their ideas to our team, which builds them into products in our one-of-a-kind factory. People like you come to us, and for over 25 years, we have helped their ideas come to life. Our factory is filled with Mr. D's talented friends. They are the creationeers.
Our team designs, engineers, and builds these ideas into product samples.
Much of the action at Davison takes place in our factory, a creative wonderland that processes thousands of our inventors' ideas every year. Some of these are sold across the world by home shopping networks, catalogs, chain stores, and internet outlets. The reward of watching our clients' ideas come to life is what we experience every day.
Who knows? The next idea you see in stores could be yours. Just fill in that confidentiality agreement and then click the submit button, and let's get this thing started.
Okay, so that's a promotional video from Davison, which is currently available on YouTube and also on their website. What I want to do right now is go through the figures with you. Okay, so what you're looking at on screen right now is the figures of Davison. I've saved these as screen captures, and you'll look at them as saved screen captures on screen. Just to show you exactly how this works, if I actually Google Davison and try to get to their website, if I then go onto their website and I click on this Submit Your Idea link, it will then take me to a new page, and you can see on that page, you can see the video which you've just seen on the left hand side. That's the one we've just gone through, and then on the right hand side of the page you can see this disclosure form where you can disclose your idea and submit it. And at the bottom of the form, near the Submit Your Idea button, you'll see it says step 1 of 3. So once you click that button and fill it out, you're then going to come to these, what you see on screen now. So on the left-hand side, the screen capture I've saved is, as you can see, it says step 2 of 3. And this is where you're going to see certain figures about Davison's business and model that are disclosed to you, that they have to disclose to you before you move forward with them. So the first one on the left is some of their figures about the numbers of inventors that have disclosed. And then on the right-hand side, this is the next page. Once you check the checkbox on the left-hand page and go and move through to the next one, on the right-hand side is the next page where they talk about how much they charge for these services that they charge for, and what the services provide to you. So by going through both of these pages together and looking at the amount of inventors that pay for the services and the charge of how much they cost, we can actually get a very good estimate for how much Davison are turning over in the 5-year period. You can see these figures, they range from May the 30th, 2014, and these are the 5 years of business leading up to that date. So let's take a look and go through these. So in summary, in the last 5 years of trading preceding May the 30th, 2014, Davison received 794,508 disclosures from inventors and people with ideas. 59,229 of those bought what they call a pre-development agreement, which includes a patent search type service for $795. Times the customer number and the price together, and this service alone turned over $47,087,055 in that 5 years. 18,114 customers went on to buy a new product sample agreement, which typically includes Davison designing and preparing a prototype or preparing design images for presentation. Davison's figures state that the fee for this typically ranges from $8,000 to $15,000. Taking an average of those two figures of $11,500 and timesing by the 18,114 who bought that service, we can estimate that that service alone turned over $208,311,000 in that 5 years. Add those two services together, and Davison have turned over more than $250 million from people like yourself in these 5 years, making it more than $50 million per year on average. This does not include various other services that Davison charged for, and the total may be far higher than this. In all that 5 years, with more than $250 million turned over from inventors like you, Davison's figures state that only 16 customers made more money than they spent with Davison. Take your success rate from the 18,114 that paid the average $8,000 to $15,000 for invention development services. That gives Davison a success rate of generating profit for inventors of less than 1 in 1,000. The actual success rate is 0.088%, less than 0.1%.
And I just had to cut into the video. This is Jethro from around a decade further on from the me that you've seen in the video up to this point. And I have some unbelievable, more up-to-date information about Davison's success rate. And it's got a lot worse. So let's take a look at that now. These are Davison's figures for the 5 years up to May the 26th, 2023. So much more up to date. And as you can see, their success rate has gone down from less than 1 in 1,000 that you saw earlier to less than 1 in 3,000. 6 out of 18,319. Less than 1 in 3,000. It's actually 0.03% to 2 decimal points. And in terms of the price, very similar to the earlier figures you saw, in these figures for the 5 years up to May the 26th, 2023, Davison state that the fees for this typically range from $8,000 to $16,000. And there's also another unbelievable bit of information coming up in this video that I'm going to tell you about after we've gone through Davison's figures, about how Davison orchestrated a trademark situation where our brand, our name SHIINE, was registered as a US trademark, and how this was then used to get many of our videos taken down from YouTube for American viewers, including, you guessed it, the original Deadly Mistake #1 video, which had around 50,000 very targeted views already at that point, and which, of course, included the information about Davison's previous success rate of less than 1 in 1,000 that you just saw, and, as you're about to hear, their background of being found guilty of deceptive business practice in US courts after being taken to court by the Federal Trade Commission of the United States of America. Stay tuned for that, because there's been big developments on that trademark situation and we've taken action on our side. Now back to the main video.
In fact, if you take the success rate including the people that paid for the first $795 service, the success rate is far lower than that, about 1 in 3,700. The last figure is perhaps the most shocking. In the company's history since 1989, a full 25 years, Davison's figures state that out of all their tens of thousands, or maybe hundreds of thousands of customers, only 31 people have received a net financial profit as a direct result of using Davison's system. To top it off, in 2006, the Federal Trade Commission of the United States of America took court action against Davison, and Davison were found guilty of deceptive business practice in US courts. You can download an excerpt of the district judge's finding in your free resources section of this deadly mistake, showing how they were initially ordered to pay back $26 million in redress to customers. If you want to see that and are watching on YouTube, click the link you see on screen now to go straight to the Deadly Mistake #1 page of the Inventor's Journey website, where all your free resources and downloads are available for this deadly mistake. These figures you see all appear to you and to all inventors when you sign up and disclose to Davison, but I believe, especially given the fact they're disclosed in large blocks of text, that as many as 90 to 99% of inventors simply check the checkbox and move through without either reading or fully understanding the figures, and therefore they move forward excited about their dream, totally unaware that if they move ahead, they have a less than 1 in 1,000 chance of generating financial success using this company.
So this is Jethro from much later on, from 2025, just cutting into the video, and I have some unbelievable developments I have to give to you. The original version of Deadly Mistake #1, including Davison's previous success rate of less than 1 in 1,000 that you saw earlier in this video, and the information about them being found guilty of deceptive business practice in 2006 after being taken to court by none other than the Federal Trade Commission of the United States of America, was taken down from US viewers by YouTube. In other words, it was removed from American viewership so that viewers in America, and therefore American inventors, couldn't see it. This was after a company I had never heard of called Rourke International Holdings Co. SA registered a US trademark for our brand, our name SHIINE, and used that registered trademark to get YouTube videos of ours removed from YouTube for American viewers on the grounds that we were engaging in trademark infringement. And it later came to light that Davison had orchestrated this trademark situation.
Who knows? The next idea you see in stores could be yours. Just fill in that confidentiality agreement and then click the submit button, and let's get this thing started.
So let me tell you a little bit about this, and if you want to skip this part of the video, I'll chapterize this video on YouTube, so if you want to jump to the next chapter where we'll see InventHelp's figures, you can. But I think this trademark situation and our videos being taken down from YouTube is important to you and important to this, the startup inventor industry, so I'm going to tell you what happened. But before I do, it's important to realize if you're an American viewer or an inventor anywhere and you're thinking, this English guy makes some great points, but I think maybe he's overestimating what he can do. I think maybe he's a little overambitious. If you think that, it's important for you to know Davison do not agree with you. Davison must have considered this to be a legitimate business threat to have taken the outlandish action of orchestrating this trademark situation where our brand, our name SHIINE, was registered as a US trademark by a third party / proxy, and for that then to be used to get content of ours, including the vital information in deadly mistake number 1, removed, because doing this potentially puts them in a vulnerable position. So they must have considered it a legitimate business threat to take such extreme action. And please hold on for the figures we show later in this video for how much Davison may have turned over due to the original deadly mistake number 1 video being illegitimately taken down for viewers in America. You will not believe this. So here's a quick version of how this happened in just a minute or two. In 2020, I received emails from YouTube Legal about many of our videos being removed, at least from being able to be viewed by American viewers on YouTube. This happened whilst I was still very ill from losing my health towards the end of 2018, and especially from early 2019 when it became really bad and I was basically bedridden for a certain amount of time, and it went on for a long time. Ultimately, I was able to get the information from YouTube Legal that YouTube had been sent a request email from an attorney who said his clients, named as Rourke International Holdings Co. SA, we'll refer to them just as Rourke, held a US registered trademark for SHIINE, and effectively, the email was requesting that many of our YouTube videos be taken down on the grounds that they were infringing Rourke's US registered trademark. Interestingly, this company seemed to have just popped up, with their first date of use of the mark SHIINE being listed on their trademark application as very recent, 2020. Just for the record, we had use of the mark SHIINE going all the way back to the early 2010s, and the original deadly mistake number 1 video that had around 50,000 views on YouTube had been up on YouTube since 2015. I also noticed that Rourke seemed to be based offshore, i.e. not within the United States, which I also found interesting. I had slight suspicions that this may be a malicious attack on us having content on YouTube that showed inventors like you what this industry was really about. To cut a long story short, and not mentioning all the financial damage this did to me personally and our company, I filed at the USPTO, the United States Patent and Trademark Office, a petition to cancel Rourke's trademark for SHIINE. You can see the USPTO trademark cancellation proceeding on screen now. So if you had any doubts about this, you can actually see the proceeding on screen now on the actual USPTO Trademark Trial and Appeal Board website link. During the proceeding, it came to light that Davison had orchestrated this trademark situation via this third party / proxy Rourke. And just in this last month, as I'm making this, on 11th of July 2025, the USPTO officially cancelled Rourke's trademark. Rourke didn't contest our petition to cancel their trademark. I'll leave it up to you to consider the possible reasons why they didn't contest. But we had found no evidence that they had ever actually traded using the term SHIINE in a bona fide sense in the terms you see here, which we included as one of the clauses you see here in our petition to cancel their trademark. And all we had found was what seemed to be an incredibly basic template-style website that included, as far as we could see, no evidence of any reviews from any customers ever, and no evidence, as far as we could see, of any work ever done for any customers ever, for example, a portfolio page or section. Not only did we successfully get their trademark registration cancelled, but along with our UK registered trademark that dates back to 2010, we now have a US trademark application pending for the mark SHIINE, which looks very likely to result in registration. But in case you thought that was it, we've also found evidence that Davison had been using another trademark of ours, the term the inventor's journey itself. Just look at this screen capture image of one of Davison's own web pages from davison.com, and look at this text you now see highlighted, and look at the way they even say, we call this the inventor's journey, and each stop made while on the inventor's journey. And if we look on Web Archive, a website where you can see web pages saved from the web, you can see that the first version of that Davison web page that they have saved is also in 2020, the year that many of our videos on YouTube were removed from US viewers due to the trademark dispute that Davison themselves orchestrated. The date here on Web Archive for the first version of this website that they have saved is September 2020, which was just months after many of our videos had been removed by YouTube due to the trademark situation orchestrated by Davison. And you can also see another interesting thing, that the page is entitled Davison versus Other Invention Companies. This ties Davison directly into this situation. Remember, they orchestrated the trademark situation that was used to get many of our videos taken down, and our YouTube channel was literally called SHIINE the Inventor's Journey. And we also had literally hundreds of instances of using the term the Inventor's Journey with a trademark symbol after it, and many links from our YouTube videos were to our website, theinventorsjourney.com, which we've owned and used since 2015. It's a term that's impossible not to see when you come into any significant contact with our company at all. All I would say to all the pirates of the inventor's journey is make sure to watch the solutions section to this deadly mistake and Project S, because if there's any suggestion that any company is not willing to play fair, we'll take that as a sign that that is what has to be implemented. And that would mean the end of the pirates of the inventor's journey in this industry, maybe overnight. Now let's get back to the main video.
Okay, so you've seen the figures of Davison, and this is quite sobering stuff, which has probably changed your whole viewpoint of what's going on in this industry. And one of the jobs of the 7 Deadly Mistakes is to create a new platform of truth of how invention development and how this really works, how you're going to move forward. So I hope that this has changed or added to your understanding of this whole process and place. But if you think that this is a one-off, then unfortunately that's not the case. There's been severe litigation in this field. There's been companies shut down. There's been all kinds of things happening. You are in serious danger when it comes to invention development and promotion and entering your invention into some of these companies or entering into business with some of them. What we're going to look at now is a different company, and what I want to show you is a video from InventHelp which features George Foreman. Once we've gone through that, again, we'll go through the figures. I'll take you through them personally. So let's quickly take a look at this video, freely available on YouTube. And we'll take a look at that now of a promotional video from InventHelp featuring George Foreman.
Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? Hi, I'm George Foreman. People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
InventHelp has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. InventHelp can provide patent referrals and submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call InventHelp today for free information.
Listen, I can't guarantee your company will be interested in your idea, but I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
So that's a promotional video for InventHelp featuring George Foreman. What I want to do now very, very quickly is go through the figures of InventHelp. And this is only going to take a couple of minutes. It's much, much more simple and much quicker. So let's take a look at that on screen now because we've got some disclosure figures for InventHelp.
So between 2008 and 2010, InventHelp state that they signed submission agreements with 4,756 clients. So that's a lot of inventors in just the time period between 2008 and 2010. In all that time, only 30 of those went on to receive more money than they paid InventHelp for these services. 30 out of 4,756. That's a success rate of less than 1 in 150 of generating a profit for inventors more than they pay. In fact, it's just a little less than 1 in 158, a success rate of 0.63%. What it seems to suggest is that in this time period, if you used InventHelp to move forward with your invention with these services, you had a 157 out of 158 chance of failing to generate more money than you paid them. InventHelp also seemed to have had a run-in with the Federal Trade Commission of the United States of America in 1994, where they apparently reached an out-of-court settlement with the FTC for $1.2 million. I can't 100% confirm that, but it is mentioned, as you can see, on various websites, including NBCnews.com, and the fact that InventHelp has not moved to have these websites taken down, or has not been able to, suggests that those reports are true. You may see InventHelp referred to on these web pages as Invention Submission Corporation, or ISC for short. That's their corporate name. They then trade under the name InventHelp. You can Google InventHelp Submission Agreement or InventHelp Success Rates if you want to see InventHelp's figures on other websites. You'll see they're out there on quite a few. They say they charged $780 in that time for a basic information package, and then $9,950 to $14,950 for their marketing, licensing, or promotion services. But we don't hear any more about what those services are, giving InventHelp the benefit of the doubt that the basic information package is considered to be a submission agreement, and using the conversion rates Davison had from their less expensive service to their more expensive service as a guide, we could estimate, as a humble estimate, that InventHelp are turning over around $10 to $15 million from inventors like yourself per year in these figures. However, if the term submission agreements does not include the basic information package, and instead relates to the more expensive package or to services much more expensive than the basic information package, then the story could be very different, and that number could potentially be 5 or even 10 times higher. In other words, InventHelp could actually be turning over more money than Davison per year. I cannot tell from these figures because there's not enough information, and they don't disclose in the detail that Davison's figures did, where we saw how many customers paid for each service. If InventHelp are watching, I invite them to disclose to me what products and services are included within the scope of the term submission agreements, and whether the basic information package is considered to be within the scope of that term, so that we can have full clarity as to what's going on here in terms of amount paid by inventors and percentage success rates achieved with reference to different services and payments made by inventors.
So this is Jethro, again just cutting in 2025, about a decade after the original video you're watching was made, and there are huge developments in the InventHelp situation, including a huge legal situation where a class action complaint was filed for tens of millions of dollars against InventHelp, and a class action settlement, so we'll see how much that was settled for, i.e. what InventHelp paid out. Updated success rates we have for InventHelp that are much lower. But first, remember how I said when looking at the InventHelp figures that if the term submission agreement didn't relate to the basic information package, and that if those submission agreement numbers were directed more towards the more expensive pricing amount they mentioned, that InventHelp could be turning over far more money? It turns out I've got new information that that is the case, because in the Cahoon class action complaint it states, at that meeting, Renee told Ms. Cahoon that InventHelp would partner with her for $9,950 for their submission services to help her market her invention. That amount was shocking and costly to Ms. Cahoon, and she declined. She agreed only to the $780 basic information package report. So there seems to be a clear delineation between these two things and the separate prices. So first, before we look at the more updated InventHelp figures, and you're going to want to see that, and the class action complaint against them, which has some unbelievable stuff, let's take a look at what that does for those InventHelp figures from 2008 to 2010 that we looked at. Taking an average of those figures of $12,450 as a guide and timesing by the 4,756, we can estimate that that turned over $59,212,200 just short of $60 million in that time period of 2008 to 2010. And using new information we have from the Cahoon versus InventHelp class action settlement as a guide for the potential ratio of how many customers paid for the basic information package compared to how many paid for the submission agreement, that would be an estimate of almost exactly 2,350 who bought the basic information package in this time period of 2008 to 2010, yielding an estimate of another $1.833 million turned over in this time period. Add that to the almost $60 million, and InventHelp may have turned over more than $60 million for inventors like yourself in this 2008 to 2010 period. As for any other services they provide and charge for, we just don't know from these figures, so it could be a lot more than this. It would be great if the information was more complete and clearer, and again I invite InventHelp to get in touch so that we can have complete clarity. A court of law or judge will see I'm doing due diligence with what I've got. But on this alone, if this period is from a certain day in 2008 to the same day in 2010, i.e. 2 years exactly, this alone would be a turnover of more than $30 million per year. If it means the whole of 2008, the whole of 2009, and the whole of 2010, that would still be more than $20 million per year. And just to make this real for you if you're watching this, so you know your position as an inventor in this industry, when we talk about figures like $50 million a year that we saw earlier, that would be an average dividing by 365 days in a year, so even including Saturdays and Sundays, of just short of $137,000 per day. Per day. These are huge numbers. So you can see these companies have a huge amount to lose. Before we get on to the class action complaint made against InventHelp in 2018, I'm just going to show you some more up-to-date figures for InventHelp, and I was going to show you the figures of 2021 to 2023, showing a much lower success rate compared to the 0.63% of the earlier figures, all the way down to 1 in 392.11, getting towards 1 in 400. But I've got even more up-to-date figures of 2022 to 2024. Again, as you can see, these are from InventHelp's own website, and the success rate's gone down even more from the earlier figures. It says out of 3,507 clients they signed submission agreements with, 5 clients have received more money than they paid InventHelp for these services. That's a success rate of 0.14% to 2 decimal points, a success rate of just worse than 1 in 700. 1 in 700. And although it's hard to get information on this, if the class action complaint we're about to look at is right, even by 2018, it seems InventHelp was stating they charged from $11,900 to $16,900 for their marketing, licensing, or promoting services, much more than the $9,950 to $14,950 that they stated in their 2008 to 2010 figures that we looked at earlier. So the pricing InventHelp themselves mentioned seems to have gone up. And there's another quote in the class action complaint that includes this. From 2015 to 2017, ... we charge $975 for a basic information package. So if that's correct, it seems the price of the basic information package from InventHelp, even by that time of 2015 to 2017, had also gone up in price, up from $780 that we saw earlier in the 2008 to 2010 figures to $975, which would be an increase of 25% in price even by that point, which is around 10 years ago. Okay, so then we come to the class action complaint and class action settlement I mentioned. I'll give you a very quick overview. A lady called Etta Cahoon was what you could call the origin point for this class action complaint. She bought the InventHelp basic information package, and it seems a submission agreement was signed for $8,990. But the class action complaint made things far more wide-reaching than just Etta Cahoon, and states, plaintiff brings this suit individually and as a class. It then goes on to say the class consists of All persons and entities in the United States who purchased goods and/or services from defendants who were contacted by defendants from 2010 to present. To give an idea of the numbers involved, the complaint then states, the class is so numerous that joinder of all individual members in one action would be impracticable. Submission agreement signed in 2018 obtained from potential class members states the total number of customers who have contracted with InventHelp in the past 10 years is 10,272. Submission agreement signed in 2018 from potential class members state from 2015 to 2017 we signed submission agreements with 6,564 clients. The exact number of class members can be determined by appropriate discovery. For those of you that don't know about the American legal system, the term discovery is a technical term in the American legal system that means the early part of the process where parties can obtain information/evidence from each other. And it turns out to be the case that the class action settlement, where InventHelp paid out millions of dollars, does have some interesting information about this, including some unbelievable stats, stating, the term settlement class means all United States residents who purchase services from any of the InventHelp defendants from January 1st, 2014 to June 30th, 2021. Defendants have represented that the settlement class collectively purchased 36,882 basic information package agreements and 18,223 submission agreements during that time period. Incredible numbers. And by the way, for those of you who are fascinated by the numbers, if we estimate what InventHelp may have turned over in that approximate 7.5-year period from January 1st, 2014 to June 30th, 2021, using as a guide the pricing numbers we have quoted from the 2015 to 2017 period, for example, then taking an average of the $11,900 to $16,900 and timesing by the number given in the class action settlement for who purchased submission agreements, then not including the basic information package, this may have turned over $262,411,200. So possibly over $250 million. If you take the pricing of $975 for the basic information package we have quoted from the 2015 to 2017 period and times that by the number given in the class action settlement for who purchased the basic information package, this may have turned over almost $36 million. Add that to the $262 million and this could be a total of approximately $300 million turned over. And this seems, from what we can see, to only be related to United States residents. I don't think it's possible to tell from the figures I have, but this could start to bring them close to Davison in terms of annual turnover. It's not even impossible that InventHelp turn over more, and a court of law or judge will understand I'm doing due diligence with what I have available to me. It seems we have some unknowns, but it would seem that both Davison and InventHelp are turning over multiple tens of millions of dollars per year each. The class action complaint then goes on to state, jury demand. Plaintiff demands a trial by jury on all issues so triable, wherefore plaintiffs, on behalf of themselves and the class, pray that the court C. enter an order granting monetary relief including treble and punitive damages on behalf of the class in an amount at least $36 million, the precise amount of which is to be determined at trial. D. Enter an order granting monetary relief including compensatory damages on behalf of the class in an amount of at least $72 million, the precise amount of which is to be determined at trial. To cut a long story short, InventHelp seemed to have settled for paying out $3 million as far as public information is available and from this Cahoon versus InventHelp settlement agreement document, which mentions it twice. So vastly less than those class action complaint numbers just stated, but still an extremely significant amount of money for them to pay out. But you could also see it as just a tiny fraction of the money paid by inventors to InventHelp during the relevant time. But there's also one very strange quote in the Cahoon class action complaint that I have to mention. It even confused me. it mentions disclosures that Etta Cahoon signed required by InventHelp as part of a contract, stating, Ms. Cahoon was overjoyed that a seemingly experienced, reputable and successful company, InventHelp, was impressed with her idea. She signed the Basic Information Package Agreement and agreed to pay $780 for a Basic Information Package report. As part of that contract, Ms. Cahoon signed disclosures required by InventHelp. One of those disclosures states, the total number of customers who have contracted with InventHelp in the past 5 years is 8,095. The total number of clients known to have received more money than they paid InventHelp for submission services as a direct result of these services is 38. However, signed and dated by Ms. Cahoon on that very same day, February the 12th, 2018, states, the total number of customers who have contracted with the Invention developer since 1985 is 53,037. The total number of customers known by this Invention developer to have received, by virtue of this Invention developer's performance, an amount of money in excess of the amount paid by the customer to this Invention developer is 0. The Cahoon class action complaint even repeats this later, albeit with a few thousand more customers, which may be because of the later date mentioned of when this disclosure was provided. And what I haven't told you is there are 2 other class action complaints I know of with some significant similarities to the Cahoon class action complaint. And in the McClouse et al. Complaint, it also has multiple quotes again stating that a disclosure to them stated the 0 number we just saw, and this appears 3 times in the McClouse class action complaint, twice with the same total number of customers, with both disclosures being dated to September 2017, and once with a higher number of total customers of 65,666. 65666. Presumably because that one is from October 2017, not September. So whilst I cannot personally confirm any of this, and it seems very strange and confusing to see that 0 number, if you think it's not possible for an invention help or promotion company to turn over tens of millions of dollars from inventors like yourself and have 0 successes whilst doing that, you'd be wrong. And I now have to tell you the unbelievable story of another invention help company called World Patent Marketing. I'll keep this brief, and there's a Wikipedia page about World Patent Marketing, but in summary, as the Wikipedia page mentions, they turned over around $26 million from inventors in a very short order of time. They were then shut down by the FTC. I've never found any evidence at all that they even had one success of an inventor making more money than they paid them. I actually found out about them in 2015 before they were shut down, and having taken one look at their website, alarm bells were ringing for me left, right and centre, at least in part due to the fact that amidst all their success stories, I couldn't even find any evidence of even one prototype being made for any of their clients, let alone a finished product. It turns out World Patent Marketing were running this system of giving false licensing deals to their inventor clients themselves, i.e. World Patent Marketing themselves would offer the inventor a false licensing deal for the invention. In at least some cases, the inventor, who in the video review cases I saw were totally naive about invention development and business and seemed to believe they had really secured a successful licensing deal, would then do a video review thanking World Patent Marketing. These were then used, at least in part, to lure other inventors into using World Patent Marketing. Despite how basic and crude this was, they turned over $26 million according to Wikipedia. When the FTC shut them down, as the Wikipedia page states, only $2 million was retrieved or at least located by the FTC, an absolute fraction of the money inventors had spent. And it looked like that was how it was going to be. That the dreams and bank balance of almost every single inventor in the world would die, and that the startup inventor industry would remain in darkness forever. But out of the darkness comes light, and SHIINE and the inventor's journey is about to radically alter the whole way the startup inventor industry works. So we've heard about Davison, InventHelp, and World Patent Marketing. But finally, I should state what happened to me starting out as an inventor in the UK and how I got into this industry. When I was a startup inventor with no knowledge of patenting and hadn't designed a product in my life, well before SHIINE and the inventor's journey, I didn't go to any of the American companies you've heard about earlier in this video. I went to a UK Invention Help company called Innovate Product Design, often just referred to as Innovate or Innovate Design. And whilst I won't say anything malicious and/or defamatory, I will tell you simply as fact and information, and because it's relevant in terms of the background of how I got into this industry, that the experience I had going to Innovate with my first invention, SHIINE, made me so angry that it was likely the initial thing that set off the chain of events that led to me getting involved in this industry and becoming a provider in this industry. That is a fact and cannot be legally challenged. It was also the thing that first started me wondering what the correct, i.e. optimized order was of steps and services to get done for an invention to avoid the loss of thousands of pounds that happened to me with Innovate Product Design. And you can go to deadly mistake number 5, which is called getting a full patent application before your product development is complete, to see exactly what happened. And I invite any court of law or judge to watch that if any legal action is attempted by Innovate, which is unlikely since they know what I detail is absolutely correct and contains absolutely zero falsehood. I just couldn't understand why they didn't do the relatively cheap basic prototype step before at least the full patent application. It would have saved thousands of pounds. They did also do a quite expensive graphics folder/package before the relatively cheap basic prototype step revealed a much bigger motor was required to power SHIINE, leading me to redesign SHIINE myself and ultimately patent it myself in both the UK and the US after running out of money and losing my health in 2009. You do not want to find yourself in this situation. But it did set me off solving the invention equation, as well as creating the 7 deadly mistakes that inventors make, and ultimately building the inventor's journey. So I hope you're getting the benefit of that now. With that in mind, let's move on to the solution for deadly mistake number 1. So now we come to the solution for deadly mistake number 1. At the end of each of the 7 deadly mistakes, you'll get a solution section. So the way the program's structured, inside the program, you get an individual video for each one of the 7 deadly mistakes. And at the end of each video, there'll be a solution section. So you don't just know about the problem of the deadly mistake, you also have the solution and you know what to do. After watching deadly mistake number 1, you're probably thinking, what the hell is going on here? Who can I trust? What do I do? What's the actual correct way to move forward with this invention I have, and who can I trust to actually do that? The answers are coming in this section, but we got a real problem here. We've got your personal problem of how to move ahead with your invention, and I'm going to show you exactly what the solution is for you and exactly what you should do. But we've also got the industry-wide problem of the pirates of the inventor's journey, and I'm going to go through a possible solution to that could end the reign of the pirates of the inventor's journey overnight. I call it Project S, short for Project Success Rates, and it's a nightmare for the pirates. Finally, I'm going to end with a warning to the pirates that if there's any illegitimate, bad and or aggressive conduct against SHIINE, either directly by any of the pirates themselves and or by anyone in cahoots with the pirates, to get our content, and especially the content in deadly mistake number 1 about previous success rates in this industry, taken down or in any way removed from the experience of the individual inventor, will exert such significant financial punishment on them publicly through US courts that they'll lose many times over how much money they would save by taking that action to get SHIINE's content illegitimately taken down. And as I'll explain, this will start with Davison and the class action complaint against them that I'll mention, with regard to all their paying US customers in the time those customers were deprived of the opportunity of having access to that content/information in deadly mistake number 1. And as mentioned, this comes after Davison orchestrated the trademark situation that was then used to get our content, including deadly mistake number 1, taken down, thus intentionally depriving those customers of information that was materially important to their decision as to whether or not to use and pay Davison. And I'll mention more about that later in this video. So I'm going to start with your personal situation. This is key to you and your invention. This is what you're going to do, and it's a 2-punch combination. The first part of it is the rest of the 7 deadly mistakes that inventors make video program, and I'm going to show you in a second how to get access to that in literally seconds. Deadly mistake number 1 is only the beginning, and this is the most important thing to you and your invention right now. But what I want to talk about first is the real main dish of how you're going to move ahead, and that's the inventor's journey itself. The inventor's journey is a sequence of steps and extremely elite services at those steps in a very particular order. In terms of trying to get success and win with your invention, it makes it almost impossible to fall off track. It also makes it almost impossible that something goes wrong on the journey and you experience what I and so many other inventors before you have experienced, where you have to pretty much start the whole journey all over again with all the devastating financial consequences and implications of that. It knocks so many inventors out of the game forever. If you're asking, how do I know the inventor's journey really is that good? How do I know it really is all the right steps in all the right order? As you may have heard earlier, I'm an inventor, a product designer, and a product designer who specializes in what I believe is the most important aspect of product development when it comes to you and almost all other startup inventors' inventions: user interface, which effectively means I specialize in turning product concepts into the perfect version of the product. And I'm also one of the most elite self-taught patent specialists in the world, a former top grade scholar in the UK educational system who found themselves with their back against the wall, no money left after losing money with an InventionHelp company, bad health, no way forward, having to rely on my academic background to learn how to patent my invention myself, and then went on to draft, file, and prosecute dozens of patent applications to grant at multiple patent offices, and created groundbreaking, tried and trusted patent services for inventors like yourself, like the Perfect Patent Search that replicates how the patent office search a non-provisional patent application with a claim-based search, and the Lightspeed Perfect Patent Service, which can get your official patent office results in as quick as 2 to 3 weeks from filing, instead of the 2 to 3 years that many American inventors especially have to wait, and then get you free accelerated patent processing at the USPTO for your US patenting, and a myriad of other patent offices potentially through the patent prosecution highway. You may see some of the reviews on screen now. My mix of being an inventor, but especially of being a product designer who specializes in turning product concepts, or invention concepts in this case, into the perfect version of the product, and also a patent specialist who specializes in how to get perfect patent protection, gives me unique understandings of how invention, product development, and patenting interweave together, what is involved, what needs to be done, and what shouldn't happen. And amongst other things, I'm an equation solver. I had to do this. From the beginning, from when that UK InventionHelp company did things in the wrong order, I had to solve how to do this in the right order, how to move forward in the best way with an invention, how to avoid these mistakes, and find the best way possible to do this to actually win with an invention. And now we have it, the inventor's journey. Here's an ultra quick walkthrough. We're going to do a world-class patent search for you, doing a claim-based patent search, which is how the actual patent office search your invention when you claim it in your full non-provisional patent application. We just only draft and search the claims, not drafting the description, drawings, and abstract that would be required when filing a full non-provisional patent application. Then, before drafting and filing the full non-provisional patent application, we inject elite level product design into your journey almost right from the get-go, getting one or more elite product designers to convert your invention concept into the absolute best version of the product to optimize your chances of success with it if that work is needed, and then doing a basic prototype, often referred to as a proof of principle prototype, of that perfect version. This leads to any problems in the perfect design coming to light during the prototyping so that they can be solved, often refining and often actually improving the design. Often the ideation work into the perfect version of the product, and crucially, often the solutions found to any problems revealed in the prototyping phase, generates new patentable material that can be absolutely crucial to your patenting journey. This effectively completes your product development even before your full patent application is filed. Only then do we draft and file your full non-provisional patent application with all the benefit of that elite design work that's been done and all the solutions to any problems we found in the perfect design in the prototyping phase, with all of that being content in your patent application, often hugely increasing the chance of getting hyper important patent protection to block out any competitors from being able to compete with your product in a meaningful way. And even if you're American or Canadian, wherever you are, we file your first non-provisional patent application at the UK Patent Office, the home patent office of SHIINE Enterprise, one of the best and potentially one of the quickest patent offices in the world, getting your official results within weeks of filing instead of the 2 to 3 years the USPTO often takes, and opening up the possibility of using the patent prosecution highway to get free accelerated processing of your US patenting at the USPTO, and maybe free acceleration in many other territories too if you want to go for them. So if you're an American or Canadian inventor, or really an inventor from anywhere, there are huge benefits to your patenting journey for you to get your patenting done with SHIINE Enterprise. If all goes well with the patenting, and the Inventor's Journey system optimizes the chances of that, we do an advanced prototype using more advanced materials to make the prototype look and function as close as possible to a finished sales-ready product. This will then be used to optimize your chances of successfully crowdfunding and or licensing or launching in any other way, which will happen after, only once you have that advanced prototype to optimize you and your invention's chances of success. And if you're worried about funding, amongst other possibilities, we intend to bring in the Inventor's Journey loan to help you get through this with relatively small monthly payments. And if you're asking why it's taken so long for me to get to you, maybe ask Andy Dufresne how it took so long to borrow out of Shawshank. It's been just me here, often held back by complex patenting work I had to do my absolute best at because that's how conscientious people work. Held back by illness, including the illness from 2018 that repetitively ate the middle part of my face away, which was nice, and went on so long, along with 5 or 6 other main symptoms, one of which had me bedridden many times over the years. And the Inventor's Journey system itself has evolved over time, especially from the early to mid 2010s and onwards, from some pretty interesting beginnings as I got closer and closer to solving the equation of how an inventor should move forward with their invention to optimize the chances of success and make it as impossible as possible to ever go off track from success. And we have even more planned. You'll look at some graphics I created from very early on. Some of these are probably from 2011, 2012 for something called SHIINE Badge. This is the concept that all our product development providers, or at least the elite ones that actually try to take these projects on and get them to success, may have their previous success rates at generating profit for inventors visible and available to you. Even more information may be available too, like how many projects they've taken on in total. And how would you like it if we had a system where these providers could bid to take on your project? It would be highly confidential, very possibly only for inventors who have already had the perfect patent search done at step 1, with only highly recognized professionals who are signed up to tight and binding confidentiality agreements, not at all publicly available. A bidding system like that could lead to competitive pricing where these providers compete with each other to get your project, lessening the price you have to pay. And you can see in this graphic how you'd be able to see their previous success rates, by far the most important indicator of how likely they may be at getting success for you with your project. And you get to choose which one to go with. So how are we going to attract these elite designers, elite product development professionals into the inventor's journey and into your journey? We're going to do that with our dynamic financial model, where our providers, including the product development provider, can get a percentage of profit generated from your project being a financial success, but only for a certain amount of time from when your project is launched. After that, that percentage amount will default back to you. So a product development provider may get 20% of all profit generated by your project for 3 years from when it's launched. But after 3 years, that 20% defaults back to you. This is great for the product development provider, adding an exciting financial incentive for them to do their best quality work for your project. But it's also great from your point of view, because it means having elite professionals doing work on your project, hopefully therefore increasing the chance of success, and then being incredibly motivated to make your project a huge success, and to make it a huge success quickly, because they only get their percentage profit for a certain amount of time after launch. So that's great for you because you also want success quickly. And on top of that, that percentage then defaults back to you, which is nice to know from your point of view as well. It's not permanent, it's temporary. It's also exciting being part of a team, especially when there are incredibly high quality professionals involved in that team that you know are incredible at their job. Being an inventor can almost be too isolated sometimes. This brings in a team aspect that's potentially very exciting and hopefully gives you people to cheer with when you get over the line and get success with this project, and to share the victories along the way, like getting amazing patent results that could play a role in the financial success of the project. And we're going to load the bases in terms of the quality of the providers, patenting providers, launch providers, including crowdfunding specialists as part of that, who you may also be able to see the previous success rates of in terms of getting projects successfully crowdfunded. We're going to attract the best of the best. They're going to have significant financial incentives to do incredible work for your project, and you and your invention are going to benefit from this. And as I told you, we're going to show previous success rates, and that starts with me. And I can reveal I have 5 projects, some of which I've already patented, that I'm going to be trying to get to market successfully. They are
a special container, a special easel, a vacuum cleaner invention, a bracelet device, and a special type of tape. I'm going to be going live with much of this, showing you this as I do it, including showing you about the product development, including design work, design thinking, the patenting, where I'll sometimes show you the actual workings of the patenting that I've done, like the patent claiming strategy, so you can see how this works up close and actually start to understand this stuff in a way that will help your project, and launching the product. So if you're on YouTube or social media watching this, make sure to subscribe to get updates about this. I'm hoping to get 3 out of the 5 projects to market successfully, generating more money for the inventor than what they paid. Of course, I want to get all 5 to market successfully, but even 1 out of 5 would be a 20% success rate, which I think we can safely say would be a lot better, albeit in this very small total number, than some of the percentages we saw earlier. But what about your invention? How does this all start? It starts with you coming aboard SHIINE Enterprise and becoming a crew member. You have to be a crew member to access the services at the steps of the inventor's journey. You have to be a crew member to get them. And it also gets you access to SHIINE Enterprise itself, with a lot of stuff available to you there. And you should see a link in or below this video that will take you to an interface you can sign up on to become a crew member, or you may even see a direct sign up below. Once you're a crew member aboard SHIINE Enterprise, and SHIINE Enterprise will be unlocked the moment you sign up, you'll also get the Beginner's Patent Search video tutorial, which shows you how to do a quick, fun, and very easy 5 to 15 minute patent search yourself using Google and Google Patents. A great way to start by doing a free patent search. The Invention Mastery video series. The 7 Deadly Mistakes shows you what not to do. The Invention Mastery video series is its sibling program that shows you what invention development is, how it works, and how to do it, effectively giving you the beginnings of mastery of invention development. You'll get a free, powerful 1-page editable NDA, which you can download. This is a great and powerful compact confidentiality agreement you can use, not just at SHIINE, but anytime you want to disclose your invention to someone, but need it to be disclosed confidentially. Just get them to sign this. This is an essential thing to have if you're an inventor, and if you haven't got your own, this is a great bonus for you to download and keep forever when you become a crew member. Download it for free, and there's a quick video tutorial I shot to show you how to fill it out before you send it to who you're disclosing to. It makes this easy. Patents Untranslated official page. This will grow in time, but already I put videos and audio I've recorded of various patenting topics. As I add more and more videos and audio, you'll be able to just input any patenting topic you have questions or concerns about into the search box on the page, and all the content I've created to do with that subject will appear immediately in your search results. This will help get you up to speed very quickly on many patenting topics and issues, giving you knowledge and clarity very quickly. It's in its infancy as I record this, but will become powerful as I add more and more content. Free consultation. Once you're a crew member, as part of unlocking the services at the steps of the inventor's journey, it unlocks your free consultation for the Perfect Patent Search service at step 1. We don't do a general consultation at SHIINE Enterprise. We get specific very early. And in this free consultation, a patent professional, after listening to your disclosure very carefully, and they'll sign an NDA before you disclose, so it's 100% confidential,
will actually ghost draft an independent patent claim for your invention that, in theory, if deemed allowable at the patent office, would get you perfect patent protection of your invention. That's the intent. And they will check with you during the consultation if you agree that that claim would get you perfect patent protection. So this is not just some inane general consultation with any old person on the phone. We get specific with the perfect patent search right from the get-go. I don't know any other company or patent search service or any patent service where this is done right from the get-go like this. But before you actually take your invention through the elite services at the incredible steps of the inventor's journey, I got a message for you. You're not ready. You're not ready to start the inventor's journey. I need to prepare you before you start. Your training and understanding has only just begun. So I've created the whole of the 7 Deadly Mistakes That Inventors Make program, and despite the fact it could be argued, given that this program will save many inventors not just thousands of dollars, but potentially $10,000 plus, despite it could be argued that this is around $1,000 of value, it's so important that I have to make it free. It amounts to training, eradication of any bad habits or thoughts you may have picked up from other places in this industry to prepare you for the journey. So the 7 Deadly Mistakes That Inventors Make, the most important program in the history of the startup inventor industry, is preparation for the journey. Never underestimate the power of good preparation. And the 7 Deadly Mistakes That Inventors Make video series is just the first of your bonuses when you come aboard SHIINE Enterprise as a crew member. Make sure to go through all the deadly mistakes before you start the inventor's journey. It isn't just hype. You'll feel yourself changing as you go through it and becoming a more powerful and complete individual. And you'll be different when you then go on to start taking your invention through the steps of the inventor's journey. But what if you're not quite sure you want to start? Well, because the 7 Deadly Mistakes is so important, and I'm genuinely passionate about every single inventor having access to this, I've created an option where you can sign up to just get the 7 Deadly Mistakes That Inventors Make video program. There's no need to input any payment details at all. The way it is right now, you can just input your email, create a username and password, and that will unlock the part of SHIINE Enterprise that has the 7 Deadly Mistakes program on it. You get full and instant access the moment you create your free account. So if you're a little unsure, at the very least, make sure to get the 7 Deadly Mistakes. It's a complete no-brainer because it's so important and it's free. There are unbelievably important deadly mistakes coming up, and so many of them are potential $10,000 plus mistakes. You have to know this stuff. It would be crazy to not get it. If you want to jump the queue and take your invention through the inventor's journey as soon as possible and get that free consultation for the perfect patent search ASAP, choose the crew member option. Or even if you're not moving ahead right now with an invention, but you want to support SHIINE Enterprise and what we're doing in this industry and help us get to more inventors with what we're doing, you can also sign up as a crew member. It genuinely makes a difference. If you're not 100% sure about moving ahead, then choose the 7 Deadly Mistakes only option. Either way, I'll see you on SHIINE Enterprise for deadly mistake number 2 in a second, and from deadly mistake number 3, things get very, very serious. They don't get less important as you go down the list. Sign up now, I'll see you on SHIINE Enterprise. What I've just shown you, i.e. that 2-punch combination, can itself end the reign of the pirates of the inventor's journey in this industry. But what about if there was a solution to end the reign of the pirates that didn't require any of this, that didn't even require me? Or SHIINE? Let me explain to you what I call Project S, short for Project Success Rates. Rules have been made that companies like Davison and InventHelp have to disclose their figures. But if the intent of these rules was for inventors to truly understand the situation they're in so that the inventor could make an informed decision about whether to use and pay these companies, it clearly hasn't worked. But what if it had been done like this? What if, with reference to the figures you saw earlier from Davison for the 5 years up to May the 26th, 2023, Davison were required to have a part of the customer user interface where information had to be disclosed in the way you see here? So here's a few things about this. Firstly, the background is completely white. No headers, no images, nothing. Nothing to distract the inventor purely from the information being disclosed. I would make this a requirement that the background is pure white with nothing else on the page. Then there's some text which relates to the date of the information that's about to be disclosed. I would require that this text is in a particular font size. Maybe font size 12 would be good because we want a readable but small font size here. A particular font that's basic and easily readable, and in fact I would require that all the text is in that same font. I would require that it must be in black color only. The text could or would be templated simply with gaps where the particular company in question would fill out the details, so it could look something like this before it's filled out. Then we have the information that really gives the inventor what they need to know. The previous success rate of generating more money for inventors than what the inventor has paid is the best information an inventor can get in terms of appraising their possible chance of success in using a particular provider. And here we have the success rate in this time period stated to 2 decimal points. And the key thing is that it's in a much bigger font size and it's in red. If I had to make the rules, it would have to be in font size 72, have to be in red as you see here, and have to be in bold just as you see it here. This should be enough for the inventor to actually understand the situation they're in and be able to make an informed decision as to whether to move ahead. However, in case there are any inventors who are in any way confused about this, it then again has what could be templated text and has the success rate again, but as just a 1 in number total rather than a percentage amount. So in this case, it would be 1 in 3053. And there could be rules for this that it's expressed like this to the nearest whole unit. So Davison's, from the figures we saw earlier of 6 in 18,319 is 1 in 3053.16 recurring. So that would be written as seen here as 1 in 3053. Truth is, there's an argument that this is clearer than the percentage amount, so the page could be done without the percentage amount to look like this. You can then see a final statement with a checkbox for the inventor to check, which is again in font size 12, must be all black, same font as the other black, but this time is in bold, and in this example it reads, using the above previous success rate as a guide, I am aware that if I use Davison to move forward with the service or services stated, all other things being equal, e.g. not taking into account commercial viability of any given project, I have a chance of approximately 1 in 3053 of making more money than what I pay. It again could be templated text and have a blank space where the success rate is, so that that's the only thing the provider can fill out. And you can see the success rate is again in red. I think this is important, and this final statement makes it very clear to the inventor what they're getting themselves into. If the American authorities made rules that so-called InventHelp companies have to disclose their figures to potential customers in certain ways, I don't know why those rules would have been made if not intended for the inventor to understand what they're getting into. So why not do it right? Because as stated before, I believe as many as 90 to 99% of inventors simply check the checkboxes on Davison's disclosure and move through without even reading or fully understanding the figures. This would make sure the inventor is informed and fully aware, and is therefore able to make an informed decision as to whether to move forward, which is fair, particularly in light of what's been happening to inventors for decades now in the startup inventor industry. In fact, I can't think of any industry in the world where it would be more appropriate that rules like this were brought in. So this is a message to Davison and to the pirates. You've seen what happened here with Davison orchestrating the trademark situation that was then used to get our content removed from YouTube for American viewership. If that's ever done again by any of the pirates and or anyone in cahoots with the pirates, I'll take it as a sign and as evidence that the pirates are not willing to play fair, and that will force me to put all my energy and all my focus on Project S. Project S, what you've just seen here, can work without SHIINE or even the inventor's journey being here, so that's what I'll have to do. I doubt the pirates want that, because this will end the reign of the pirates in this industry overnight once implemented. So if you play fair, it's SHIINE versus you. If you don't play fair, it's Project S. The key thing to understand if you're watching this is that the pirates of the inventor's journey cannot exist in an environment of truth and clarity. That's the situation we're dealing with, And that's why disclosure of their previous success rates like this in such a clear way would mean the end. Finally, I'm ending with a warning to the pirates and an understanding of what will happen to you financially if there's any illegitimate, bad and or aggressive conduct against SHIINE, either directly by any of the pirates themselves and or by anyone in cahoots with the pirates, to get any of our content taken down or in any way removed from the experience of the individual inventor. What's about to happen to Davison now, which I'm about to explain, will happen to you. As you know from earlier in this video, Davison orchestrated the trademark situation where our name, our brand, SHIINE, was trademarked in the US, and that was then used to get our content removed from YouTube from American viewership, including deadly mistake number 1, including their previous success rate that we saw earlier of less than 1 in 1,000, extrapolated from Davison's own disclosure of their figures. Deadly mistake number 1 with their previous success rate and mention of how they were found guilty of deceptive business practice in 2006 after being taken to court by the Federal Trade Commission of the United States of America and initially ordered to pay back $26 million in redress to customers, had almost 2,000 views in just the month of June 2018 alone, and regularly had around 1,500 views per month. That's around 16,000 views per year, as you can see here from the yearly total of over 15,500 views for deadly mistake number 1 in 2018 alone. And these are highly targeted views. This isn't some entertainment video about an update on Britney Spears' new haircut that gets millions of inane views. These are highly targeted views of a very niche market, almost every single one being an inventor to whom this information is materially important to their decision-making process. And all that is evidenced by the type of comments you see in the comment section of deadly mistake number 1, with comments like this. And this. You see many of these comments over and over in the comments section. And remember, just a fraction of people comment on YouTube compared to the people viewing and people who may be experiencing that exact same experience. So what's about to happen to Davison is this. A US class action complaint is being organized relating to all of Davison's customers who were deprived of access to this information in our content that was illegitimately removed, information that would clearly have been materially important to the consumer's decision as to whether to use and pay Davison or not. They were deprived of this by illegitimate means, and this was around 15,000 views per year. It was still close to 1,500 views in the month before you can see its views nosedived due to this trademark situation. The class action complaint will include that Davison pay millions of dollars in redress to customers in the time period where those customers were deprived of this content and therefore this information as a result of Davison orchestrating this trademark situation that resulted in their potential customers being intentionally deprived of any opportunity of having access to said content/information. Something that was clearly materially important to their decision as to whether to use and pay Davison. Remember, deadly mistake number 1 had around 50,000 views and around 15,000 views per year, a huge amount of inventors, with clear evidence that the information about Davison, extrapolated from Davison's own disclosure, was materially important to the consumer in their decision-making process. Those inventors had a right to that information. Those customers that paid Davison were deprived of that right. And this won't simply be a case of trying to get back as much money as Davison have financially gained as a result of orchestrating the trademark situation. If that was all that was achieved, then it would incentivize Davison or other such companies to do this type of thing again. After all, it would mean they wouldn't have lost anything compared to if the content had stayed up. So in the class action complaint, it will be entered that the financial amount that Davison pay must be in the order of multiple times however much Davison have gained as a result of their potential customers being deprived of the content/information, so that it serves 1, to punish, and 2, to deter such action at any point in the future. But it gets worse for Davison, because orchestrating the trademark situation that was then used to get our content taken down from American viewership doesn't just affect inventors who went on to use and pay Davison. Deadly mistake number 1 also included that information we've already seen about InventHelp's previous success rate, and other information about them, such as their run-in with the Federal Trade Commission of the United States of America and how they apparently settled for $1.2 million. Again, information that was materially important to the consumer in their decision-making as to whether to use and pay InventHelp or not. So orchestration of the trademark situation, and that then being used to get our content taken down from American viewership, at least also deprived the inventors who used and paid InventHelp in that time of that content/information. And remember, these are very targeted views. This is not an entertainment video. These are inventors watching. To calculate or estimate how much money may have been paid to Davison and InventHelp by inventors who otherwise would not have paid Davison and InventHelp if they had access to deadly mistake number 1 and the information in it in the time it was illegitimately removed and they were deprived of that opportunity, we need to look at some of the YouTube viewing numbers for deadly mistake number 1 before the trademark situation was used to get it removed from American viewership. During the years before our content, including Deadly Mistake number 1, was illegitimately taken down, Deadly Mistake number 1 had regularly had over 1,500 views per month, even peaking well over 2,000 views per month, around half a year before that trademark application for our brand, our name SHIINE, was filed at the USPTO. It was an evergreen video that just kept on having good viewing figures. And when that trademark situation was then used to get our content illegitimately taken down, Deadly Mistake number 1 had been on the rise again for the last 5 months, and was at around 1,250 views that last month before nosediving to almost 0 views due to the trademark situation getting it taken down from American viewership. 1,250 views per month average would be 15,000 views per year, and 75,000 views Deadly Mistake number 1 would have had in the 5 years from when it was illegitimately taken down. It may well have otherwise gone on to get over 1,500 or 2,000 views per month again. It had risen back up in the past, and an average of 1,500 or above could have taken it close to 100,000 views Deadly Mistake number 1 would have had in that time. But if we go by the approximately 1,250 views per month it was getting when it then nosedived in views due to getting illegitimately taken down, with 1,250 views per month as an average being 75,000 views over 5 years, and taking into account the typical reaction of viewers/inventors, as we've already seen is typical in the comment section of Deadly Mistake number 1, from April 2020, if 5% of the 75,000 who would have seen Deadly Mistake number 1 if it hadn't been illegitimately taken down went on to become paying customers of Davison's typically $8,000 to $16,000 service, that would be 3,750 paying customers of that service in that 5 years. Remember, we already saw Davison do more than 18,000 paying customers for that service in the 5 years up to May the 26th, 2023. Taking an average of $12,000 from the typical $8,000 to $16,000 we saw in Davison's figures earlier, 3,750 customers paying $12,000 in that 5 years would be $45 million paid by customers to Davison that otherwise would not have been paid to Davison. And remember, this doesn't even include calculation of their other services, which we know Davison turn over many tens of millions of dollars from each 5 years. And as for InventHelp, if 2.5% of the 75,000 who would have seen Deadly Mistake number 1 if it hadn't been illegitimately taken down went on to become paying customers of InventHelp's $11,900 to $16,900 service, that would be 1,875 paying customers of that service in that 5 years. Taking an average of $14,400 from the typical $11,900 to $16,900 we saw in InventHelp's figures earlier, 1,875 customers paying $14,400 would be $27 million paid by customers to InventHelp that otherwise would not have been paid to InventHelp. And again, remember, this doesn't even include calculation of their other service or services like the basic information package, which we know InventHelp turned over tens of millions of dollars from in that 7.5 year stretch we saw earlier. At those percentages,
$45 million plus $27 million would be $72 million paid by customers to Davison and InventHelp that otherwise would not have been paid to Davison and InventHelp, due to those customers, those inventors, being deprived of the content/information in deadly mistake number 1. Even if 1% of the 75,000 who would have seen deadly mistake number 1 if it hadn't been illegitimately taken down went on to become paying customers of Davison's typically $8,000 to $16,000 service, as detailed just now, that would be 750 paying customers of that service in that 5 years, and at that average of $12,000 would still be $9 million. $9 million paid by customers to Davison that otherwise would not have been paid by those people to Davison. And in terms of InventHelp, if 1% of that 75,000 who would have seen deadly mistake number 1 if it hadn't been illegitimately taken down went on to become paying customers of InventHelp's $11,900 to $16,900 service, as detailed just now, that would be 750 paying customers of that service in that 5 years, and at that average of $14,400 would be $10.8 million. $10.8 million paid by customers to InventHelp that otherwise would not have been paid by those people to InventHelp. Add the 9 million to the 10.8 million, and even at that 1% of the 75,000 who would have seen deadly mistake number 1 if it hadn't been illegitimately taken down, that's $19.8 million, almost $20 million paid by customers to Davison and InventHelp in that 5 years who would not have paid that to Davison and InventHelp. And remember, that doesn't even include their other services that we know together customers would have paid dozens and dozens of millions of dollars to Davison and InventHelp for in that 5 years. And remember, this comes after Davison orchestrated the trademark situation where our name, our brand, SHIINE, was trademarked in the US, and that was then used to get that content removed from YouTube from American viewership, including deadly mistake number 1. So at even that 1% calculation, that's almost $20 million paid by customers to Davison and InventHelp for those services of theirs that we looked at that wouldn't have been paid. At 5% and 2.5% respectively, it's $72 million. And remember, as I said, in the class action complaint, it will be entered that the financial amount that Davison pay must be in the order of multiple times so that it serves 1, to punish, and 2, to deter such action at any point in the future. And this is what awaits any of the pirates if there's any illegitimate, bad and or aggressive conduct against SHIINE to get any of our content taken down or in any way removed from the experience of the individual inventor. You'll pay the financial price many times over whatever amount that you gain by such action. In fact, however much you gain from such action, that will only make the financial penalty coming your way almost exponentially more severe. And that will be part of our very public response to this. This next part goes out to paying customers of Davison and InventHelp in the general period from April 2020 to mid-2025. If you were a paying customer of Davison in the general period from April 2020 to mid-2025, and believe that if you had seen our deadly mistake number 1 video with the information about Davison's previous success rate of less than 1 in 1,000 that you saw earlier, and about them having been found guilty of deceptive business practice, having been taken to court by the Federal Trade Commission of the United States of America, and initially being ordered to pay back $26 million in redress to customers, if you believe that if you had seen that, you would not have paid Davison some or all of what you went on to pay them, if you're of the position that you being deprived of that content/information in deadly mistake number 1 put you in an unfair position and you want to get back at least some of the money you paid Davison, I've created a form and you should see the link in or below this video or on this same page. Click that link and the form will allow you to efficiently input your data. I cannot guarantee we'll get back personally to every inventor, but we'll try. And we'll also keep you updated on this situation. So the same to customers of InventHelp. If you were a paying customer of InventHelp in that general period from April 2020 to mid-2025, and believe that if you had seen our deadly mistake number 1 video with the information about InventHelp's previous success rate that you saw earlier,
and of their run-in with the Federal Trade Commission of the United States of America and the information about how they apparently reached an out-of-court settlement with the FTC for $1.2 million, if you believe that if you had seen that, you would not have paid InventHelp some or all of what you went on to pay them, if you're of the position that you being deprived of that content/information in deadly mistake number 1 put you in an unfair position and you want to get back at least some of the money you paid InventHelp, you can click the link and fill out that form too. And even if you're not a former customer of Davison or InventHelp, even if you're not a former customer of one of the parts of the inventor's journey in that time period, you can fill out that form and provide a signature there to express your anger and displeasure at this industry and the situation that's been happening. If a lot of people sign up, we may inform the court of that if court action goes ahead. And again, if possible, we'll try to keep you informed of everything via the email you input into the form. So feel free to click that link and sign the form if you want to express your support. That brings an end to deadly mistake number 1. Sign up now and become a crew member aboard SHIINE Enterprise to take your invention through the services at the steps of the inventor's journey, an equation that's been solved. Or if unsure at all, sign up just to get the rest of the 7 deadly mistakes that inventors make video program completely free, instant access. Sign up for one of those now, and I'll see you in deadly mistake number 2 in a second.